Planet Dolan.
Who spent 25 years for a murder in New York, even though he was in Florida? Who was wrongfully executed for a crime committed by a man with the same first name? Here are 15 times people were wrongfully accused and convicted of murder. I'm Melissa, and today I'll be your narrator. Number 15. Kenny Waters was convicted of murder in 1983 and lost an appeal in 1985. That's when his sister, Betty Ann Waters, got to work proving his innocence. Betty Ann was a waitress and a high school dropout when she started her work. 18 years later, she had a law degree and had successfully overturned her brother's conviction. And after all that, Betty Ann went back to her job as a waitress. Number 14. Stephen Truscott spent 10 years in prison for the 1959 murder of Lynn Harper. He was sentenced to the death penalty for crime when he was only 14 years old. It wasn't until a decade later that he was not only paroled, but acquitted of the crime. To this day, the crime has yet to be solved, but it is still undergoing cold case investigation. The case could someday be solved with DNA evidence. Number 13. The West Memphis Three were a group of teenagers who were tried and convicted of the brutal murder of a trio of second graders. The kids were hogtied, sexually mutilated, and beaten to death. But the evidence used to convict the teens of the crime was circumstantial, and no hard evidence linked them to the scene. In fact, some of the evidence at the scene linked to the stepfather of one of the kids. The three were convicted and put in prison for 18 years. They were released on an unusual plea that allowed them to plead innocent, but remain guilty in court files. So it's actually hard to say whether they were wrongfully accused or not. Number 12. Freddie Pitts and Wilbert Lee were held in Florida prison for 12 years for a murder committed in 1963. Because it was the American South in 1963, the two black men were beaten by police until they gave a confession, and their lawyer coerced them into pleading guilty. But not only did they not do it, but the person who did confess to the murder. Pitts and Lee were reconvicted and held on death row for another 9 years after the other man confessed to the crime. Number 11. Darrell Hunt was convicted of a murder in 1984 and exonerated of that murder in 2004. He immediately went to work as an advocate for the wrongly accused and convicted. Hunt's story doesn't have a happy ending though. In 2006, Hunt was found locked in a pickup truck, dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Number 10. Michael Ray Handline was convicted in 1980 for the murder of a man who was after the same woman as him, and it took 36 years for them to realize the evidence at the scene didn't match up with him. Handline is now the longest-serving wrongfully convicted man in the history of the state of California. Number 9. Rubin "Hurricane" Carter was a famed boxer who was convicted twice for shooting 2 men and a woman at a New Jersey bar in 1966. He served 19 years in prison for the crime before being released. In both his convictions, there were legally questionable tactics used by the prosecution, including suppressed evidence and altered testimony. Carter became a civil rights icon, and efforts grew to overturn his conviction. Bob Dylan wrote the song Hurricane about him in 1976, and Denzel Washington portrayed him in the movie The Hurricane in 1999. Number 8. David McCallum was convicted of kidnapping and murder at age 16. That conviction was finally overturned with DNA evidence when he was 45. The previously mentioned Rubin Carter was one of those advocating for McCallum's release. Willie Stuckey, McCallum's friend, was convicted too, and his conviction was also overturned, but Stuckey died in prison 13 years earlier. Number 7. Juan Johnson spent 11 years in prison, wrongfully convicted of murder. When he got out, the city of Chicago was ordered to pay him $21 million in compensatory damages. Some of that money was supposed to come from the police officer that framed him by coercing witnesses. Johnson said he didn't want any money from the officer, he just wanted an apology. But the officer refused to offer an apology, so instead he had to pay Johnson $15,000 out of his own pocket. Number 6. In 1993, Gary Gajar was convicted of murdering his own parents. During an all-night interrogation, detectives asked him to speculate on how he might have hypothetically killed them, had he done it. Gajar complied, and the police took it as a confession, even though Gajar denied it. His conviction was overturned in 1996, and in 1999, a member of a local biker gang admitted to killing Gajar's parents for $15, then laughing about the fact that their son had been convicted for it. What terrible people. Number 5. When Avante Stanford was 14, he was found in his pajamas near a crime scene. where 4 murders had taken place. Police put the 14-year-old through 2 straight days of interrogation without allowing a parent or a lawyer to sit in with him. After 2 days of coercion, Stanford confessed to the crime and pled guilty at trial. After the trial, a professional hitman who was already in prison for 8 other murders admitted to killing these 4 people. Despite the twist, a judge decided to instead believe the confession of a confused, developmentally disabled 14-year-old boy and kept him in prison for 9 years. Number 4. In 1991, Cameron Todd Willingham's 3 younger daughters were killed in a fire. Willingham was charged with setting the fire on purpose, but evidence has come out since that makes that seem almost impossible. For starters, a key witness for the prosecution apparently offered his testimony in exchange for a reduction of his own, unrelated, criminal sentence. None of this helps Willingham, though. Texas executed him in 2004. Number 3. In 1983, Carlos de Luna told the court they had the wrong Carlos. He knew who had committed the murder he was being accused of, Carlos Hernandez, a man de Luna knew personally. But prosecutors laughed at the very idea of another Carlos, claiming that de Luna had made the character up in his mind. De Luna was convicted of the crime, but an exhaustive investigation published in the Columbia Human Rights Law Review in 2012 details the case and effectively proves de Luna's innocence. Again, though, it's cold comfort, as Texas executed de Luna way back in 1989. Number 2. Dewey Basella was accused of a murder he didn't commit, but the charges were dropped because there was no evidence linking him to it. 6 years later, he was rearrested for the crime. 2 inmates were offered the chance to testify against Basella in exchange for their own freedom, a deal they obviously took. That was enough to retry Basella, convict him, and put him away for 26 years. He was finally cleared of the charges and released in 2009. Number 1. Jonathan Fleming was found guilty of a murder in Brooklyn in 1989 and was sent to jail for nearly 25 years. There's just one problem with that. Fleming was on a trip to Disney World in Florida with his family at the time of the murder. Despite being on the other side of the country, Fleming was convicted on the strength of one witness's testimony that was later thrown out for being full of inconsistencies. Fleming had a bill proving he made the phone calls while in Florida, but during the trial, authorities claimed there was no such receipt. During the appeal, the receipt was found in police records, stamped and dated, which means the evidence that proved his innocence was either mishandled or purposely withheld from the trial. This video was made possible by our fans over on Patreon. Thanks for your support, guys. Conspiracies. Humans are such dark creatures. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful week.